Welcome to Flow. Let's get started. Today we'll start off in a kneeling position. Bring your hands to rest on your knees or your thighs. Allow your spine to be nice and tall. Allow your eyes to close or find a soft gaze. And we'll start off by bringing focus and awareness to your breath. And nothing that you need to manipulate at any time. Just allow your breath to be your own. Maybe just bringing a little more consciousness or awareness to the physical sensations that come up with every breath. From your kneeling position, move yourself to a child's pose. Bring your big toes together, separate your knees slightly as you reach your fingertips out long in front of you. Find a few moments of that same conscious breath here, with your back exposed, that space between your shoulder blades. In this session, we'll be doing a lot of rolling movements that exaggerate movement through the spine. So from your child's pose position, start by lifting your hips up, unfurl through your spine. Keep your shins on the mat as your hips lower and your heart reaches up into a little cobra pose. And then pull your chin to your chest, round through your upper back, middle back, lower back, and send your hips back to child's pose. And we will repeat moving, rolling through these postures 5 times total. And the objective here is to move almost as slow as you can to really articulate each section of your spine as you move through. So from this child's pose, you want to start off by lifting through the hips, articulating through the lower back, then middle back, then upper back, then finally your head and your neck. And then on the way back, tuck the chin, upper spine, middle spine, lower spine, and finally hips move to heels. So it's this kind of wave-like movement that we actually focus on quite a lot in our sessions. Allow the hips to drop down, finding some nice range of motion, really warming up through the spine as gentle as possible. And take a few more of these. When you come into your cobra position, notice if you are allowing your shoulders to crunch up to your ears, find a nice bit of distance there. And now, after this last one, from child's pose, move yourself to a downward facing dog. We're going to continue the theme of rolling through. So from your downward facing dog, imagine starting from your hips, your lower spine, roll yourself forward as you move to a cobra or upward facing dog. So it's a little more full range of motion. And then flip your toes, bend your knees, send your hips back so you have an arch through your spine, and then lift your hips back up, downward facing dog. And we repeat this 5 times total. So something to pay attention to is the flip of the toes. So you can send your hips back, find that arch through the spine as you lift your hips back into a downward facing dog. And there's a few other ways that you can move through this rolling position, but for today's series, I want you to focus on finding that arch like someone's pulling your hips back behind you. And then that same sensation of undulating forward through the spine as you lower the hips into your upward facing dog or cobra. 5 times total. We've got about 2 more here. Also finding a nice bit of activation into the shoulders and core as we move through your plank position and downward facing dog. In your downward facing dog, lift your right leg, bend your right knee, and we'll take some circles with your right leg. So pull your right knee to your chest, open your right knee out to the side, and take about 2 more circles in that direction. And then circle the other way. Press down evenly through your hands, or as evenly as you can. Re-extend your right leg and step your foot so it comes between your hands. Lower your back knee down to the mat. Flip over on top of your back foot. Reach your fingertips so they come forward. Reach your arms so they lift up. And find a back bend as you push the hips forward. Circle the arms out and around. And do it again. Reach your arms forward. Lift your arms up, gaze up. Heart up and open as you go back and around. We'll do 3 more of these. Try to keep your hips as stable as possible. Feel your back foot, the top of your back foot, actively pushing down into the mat to add support, of course, and then to increase the opening through your front left hip flexor. After the last one, bring your hands to frame your right foot, shift your hips back into a half split, flex your right foot. Inhale for a halfway lift. Think of undulating through the spine, and exhale to release. 5 of these. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to release. Find this undulating movement. Think of articulating through the vertebrae as we've been exploring and experimenting with. And then after your last one, move yourself back to a low lunge. Lift your back knee. Bring your hands forward, 3-legged dog. Send your right leg up into the air, bend your knee. We'll take those circles once again. So pull your knee to your chest, open your right knee out to the side, and take a nice big circle. We'll take 3 of these in this direction, and then we'll take 3 in the other direction. And place your right foot back down to the mat. We'll take all of that on your left side. Lift your left leg up. Take a moment to bend your knee, open your hip, and we'll move into our circles. Left knee to chest, left knee open to the side, and find this movement. Push down into your hands. And after you've done 3 in one direction, move it in the opposite direction. Just finding a nice bit of range of motion into the hips. Very gentle way to approach this. Step your left foot between your hands, lower your back knee. Reach your hands forward. Reach your hands up and back. Big circular motion. Arms go out to the side, and once again, arms reach forward, up, back, and out to the side. And we'll take about 3 more of these. Push down into the left foot. Push down into the top of the right foot to increase the stretch into the front of your right hip flexor. And take 1 or 2 more here. That idea of rolling through it. It's a little bit smaller here. It's a little more focused on the upper cervical spine. Hands come down, shift your hips back. You're in your half split or runner's pose. Flex your toes up to the ceiling. Inhale to lengthen through the spine, and then exhale to release. Again, inhale, articulate as you lengthen through the spine, and exhale to release. We're doing 5 of these total, just a way to move through the stretch. Let the head and the neck be involved. Take a couple more. And after your last one, bend into your left knee, bring your hands down. 3-legged dog, send your left leg up into the air. We'll move into those hip circles once again. Just to explore or experience if you're feeling any looser into your hips after a little bit of movement. So pull your left knee to your chest, open it out to the side, find 3 circles in one direction, and then 3 circles in the opposite direction. Let your hands and your right foot be your base as your left leg and hip moves around. And place your left foot back down to the mat, downward facing dog. We're going to revisit some familiar movement from earlier in the session. From your downward facing dog, roll your body forward to high plank, undulate through the spine, lower your hips for upward facing dog or cobra. Keep your toes flipped under as you send your hips back through a little tabletop back to downward facing dog. And we repeat, roll it forward, upward dog or cobra, bend your knees, hips go back to downward facing dog. We'll move through it about 3 more times. Notice if you feel any difference in sensation through the spine, if you're feeling a little bit looser, or you're able to articulate or undulate a little bit more freely through the spine. Allow your head and your neck to be a part of it. And of course, allow your breath to be a part of it as well. From your downward facing dog, walk your feet forward. You're in a forward fold. This ragdoll forward fold, hang here for a few moments, soften through the knees, drop your head, maybe take a little sway or shake of your torso, and then bend your knees. We're coming all the way down to your back. Bring your feet so they're flat, hips width distance apart. Push down into your feet, Lift your lower back, your middle back, your upper back to a bridge pose as your arms come up overhead. And then roll down upper spine, middle spine, lower spine as your hands come back to your sides. And we repeat, roll up through the spine, nice and gradual. Think of articulating as you lift through the hips, and then lower. And we repeat, lift up through the hips as you lift the arms, and then lower. Not in one piece, think of rolling and articulating through your vertebrae. Take a few more just like this. Notice if you're bowing your knees away from each other. Try to keep your knees truly tracking right over your toes. And one last one here. Push your hips up towards the ceiling. Let your chest be open. Take an extra moment in your bridge pose. Your glutes will be active. The fronts of your hips will be open. Your knees will track right over your toes. And then slowly, slowly lower yourself down. Stretch your legs out long in front of you. Bring your arms down to your side. Let your eyes close. And we'll close off our session here. Allow this moment to come back to your breath. Notice any shifts you may feel, maybe physically, maybe mentally, or maybe just energetically through the body. Thank you for joining us. And that's your flow.